going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. But you guys, a brand new video today talking about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee and the team that I plan on choosing for these brand new games. Now, I think it's super duper fun to think about the Kanto Pokedex and the 151 original Pokemon and what Pokemon you would use on your new journey through Kanto. And while I've done a couple playthroughs of Kanto in the past, from red and blue to yellow to fire red, leaf green, and kind of a little bit in gold and silver and heart gold, soul silver, it's still really cool to be able to use these Pokemon once again and actually use them with updated stats for in a few cases, and also updated move pools, which is going to be pretty important. So a lot of the Pokemon that I'm choosing actually for my 6 Pokemon team is a reflection of a lot of Pokemon that I've always thought were cool, but maybe didn't have that much viability in game because their move pools were lacking or whatever it may be. So I'm going to be choosing a Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu for this video, and Pikachu is going to be my starter Pokemon as a little bit of a kind of spoiler coming up here. But let me know in the comment section below what Pokemon you're going to choose for your 6 Pokemon team. Have you figured it all out yet? Do you have it all planned out, or are you kind of go with the flow kind of person where you're really going to pick it as you go? Obviously, it seems that Pokemon are going to appear in different routes at different locations in this game, so that may change your game plan entirely. And if you didn't see it, I made a version exclusive video where I talked about Pokemon that may show up in Let's Go Pikachu and some Pokemon that may show up in Let's Go Eevee. But until that's fully confirmed, I'm going to just assume that you can get all the Pokemon, and with Pokemon Go, it should be pretty feasible to get all the Pokemon anyway. So it should be pretty fun either way. Hit that like button down below and subscribe if you're new. And like I said, let me know what team you guys are going to be rolling with. But let's kick things off here. We're going to be starting with Pikachu. Pikachu obviously being the starter Pokemon that's going to follow you around. He's going to be sitting on my shoulder, and it seems as though, as per my video, that Pikachu has a pretty significant stat buff. If you guys didn't see that video, I'll put it in the description below, but it looks like Pikachu is going to receive a pretty significant stat buff, as likely will Eevee, that are going to increase its attacks, its special attack, its bulk a little bit, and its speed stat immensely, making Pikachu much more viable throughout the game. Now, I really want to use Pikachu because I think that the interactions it's going to have with you, with its tail wagging for the item finder, and for whatever other interactions are going to happen, are going to allow me to get the full experience of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So to me, as much as I hate having Pokemon forced upon me for my team, I think in this case I'm definitely going to rock with Pikachu on the first playthrough. And it was a tough choice between Pikachu and Eevee. I think they're both really cool, but there's not that many electric types. There's plenty of normal types, and I think I'm going to go with Pikachu, man. Like I said, it was kind of a tough decision, but the fact that they can't evolve, I would rather have a Pikachu that can't evolve than an Eevee that can't evolve. And again, those stat buffs make a huge difference, but getting access to things like Thunder Shock and then eventually Thunderbolt and possibly a bunch of TM moves, Pikachu actually has a decent amount of versatility, and it's a pretty cool Pokemon, and having an electric type early in the game, that looks like it's going to be pretty sweet. The next Pokemon I'm going to be grabbing is pretty much a no-brainer for me. I love me some Beedrill, man. I'm definitely going to be grabbing Beedrill from Viridian Forest if it's available. We'll start off with a little Weedle, and one of the nice things about Beedrill is, I don't know if Mega Evolution is going to make an appearance in this game, but if it does, Mega Beedrill is kind of a beast. But one of the things I like about Beedrill is it has a decent move pool now in Ultra Sun and Moon. Things like Toxic Spikes and X-Scissor and U-Turn and Poison Jab, some really strong moves, and even though it's not that strong in general, it evolves really quickly. So you'll have him at level 10 way early on in the kind of playthrough, and that's going to be pretty viable because you'll have a full power Beedrill while most of the Pokemon you're facing are not evolved yet. So I think that's really neat, and having this super strong Pokemon early in the game has always been really nice, and one of the big benefits to using bug type Pokemon, which of course are my favorite type if you can't tell by my bug catcher avatar here on the screen. Again, if Mega Evolution is present, this thing is going to be an absolute positive monster. If not, I still like Beedrill, and again, Toxic Spikes I think are going to be really cool, especially when you're facing some of the harder battles later on in the game, like some of the gym leaders or maybe the Elite Four. Setting up a layer of Toxic Spikes early in the game will poison all the rest of the Pokemon and make that matchup a lot easier to take down. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the starter Pokemon in terms of whether you can choose Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle, but we do know that Bulbasaur was available in the wild in Viridian Forest, thus indicating that the starter Pokemon are going to be available in the wild regardless, so you can really kind of have your gambit and choose whatever you want. For me, it's Charmander, man. I love me some Bulbasaur, don't get me wrong, but I think for this team, I really want to have Charmander, Charmeleon, and ultimately Charizard. When you see that trailer and you see the character riding on top of the Charizard, that is like a dream come true as a Pokemon fan. So I ultimately, like, no doubt in my mind, have to be able to have a Charizard and have to be able to ride on it. If I can get this as a shiny, that would be incredible. I think it's gonna be really cool to see how the shiny dynamics work out. Both Beedrill and Charizard have phenomenal shinies, two of my favorites actually, and I think Charizard will be really cool, and it's gonna pair with a really cool Pokemon that I'm gonna have on my team that might catch you a little bit of surprise here soon. But again, Charizard, another opportunity to potentially Mega Evolution with the Charizard X or the Charizard Y. So two really powerful Pokemon there. But ultimately, Charizard's just a good Pokemon. You don't really have to worry about Stealth Rocks or random hazards in a playthrough. So its huge weakness to Rock types isn't really that big of a deal. And I think just having a really powerful Fire type Pokemon will be pretty cool. It's got a decent speed stat, and it's got a pretty decent move pool as well, being able to be a physical attacker and a special attacker, which I think on in-game playthroughs, just casually playing through a game, is something that's pretty important. Having the ability to be able to attack from both sides is just easier, because a lot of Pokemon have pretty diverse move pools, and a lot of times those moves aren't very good. Like Beedrill special attack is absolute trash, so using Sludge Bomb on that thing, not so good. But using like Ember versus, you know, Fire Fang on Charmeleon or Charizard, it's still going to be viable on both sides. So that's one of the things that makes me like Charizard a lot. Now the next Pokemon is, again, kind of tough because of the version exclusives, but I'm excited to try to get myself a Victreebel, man. I love Victreebel, dude. It's got the craziest cry where it just screams. And I actually really like this Pokemon. It's not something I've really used a lot. I'm trying to like pick some Pokemon that are familiar friends and some new Pokemon. I think Victreebel, it's time for Victreebel to shine, man. Bellsprout, Weepinbell, and Victreebel all have pretty good attack stats, so they're like pretty offensive. And as I mentioned with Charizard, Victreebel actually features both a physical and special attack stat that's decent. Now I mentioned the two Pokemon pairing well together, and that's because of the benefit from the sun. Chlorophyll is going to boost Victreebel's speed by 2 stages, or double its speed rather, in the sun, and Charizard is also going to benefit from the sun by being able to use moves like Solar Beam without charging, and also boosting up its fire type moves. And potentially, if you can get a hidden ability Charizard, you can have the move or the ability Solar Power, which will even boost it further at a subtraction of health each turn. But those two pair really nicely together from a sun perspective, so if I can set up that sunny day with one of these two Pokemon, assuming it's a TM somewhere in the game, then we'll be in pretty good shape, because I could benefit from the double speed on Victreebel and the powered up moves from Charizard, which I think will be really cool. And Fire, Water, Grass is a really good combination, especially when it comes to in-game playthroughs. It gives you a lot of diversity in terms of being able to switch into different Pokemon and kind of handle different weaknesses and stuff like that. And while it does give me a second Poison type, which is kind of a little bummer, this is an in-game team, so I'm mostly looking towards Pokemon that I really want to use and that I really like, rather than competitive viability. Because if you were just aiming for, you know, the strongest team ever, maybe I'll make a video about that. Victreebel probably would not be on it, but it was a mainstay in my Pokemon Quest team. That's a Pokemon I've really wanted to use for a long time, so I think it'll be really cool. The next Pokemon I'm so pumped for, man. Let me tell you, it's my man Cookie. It's Kingler here, and I feel like my team is looking somewhat like Ash's team in some ways, but some ways not. I mean, there's only so many Pokemon in the original Pokedex. But Kingler, dude, this is a Pokemon that is absolutely beast mode, but the problem is it has terrible physical attacks. Well, at least it used to. I tried to use this thing in Gold and Silver, or Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and I loved it because it hits so hard, but again, its physical attack pool for water moves are trash. Now we have Waterfall, we have Crab Hammer, and we have Liquidation. 3 really good physical moves. Razor Shell, I don't think it gets it, but Crab Hammer it does get, even if it's later in the game. So hopefully you'll be able to give it like Waterfall, and maybe they'll even give it an earlier move that's a physical water move, because otherwise you're stuck with Bubble Beams and Water Guns and Surf, and you're just like, I have a base 130 attack stat, and I want to drop this big claw on something, but I can't, because I don't have any good water moves that are physical. But Kingler otherwise is a beast, dude. It learns some really cool moves, from Rock Slide to Hammer, or to Brick Break, so it's got Knockoff as well. So it depending on what it ends up learning in its move pool, it can be a really strong Pokemon. And it also gives moves like Agility, so it could double its speed stat as well, and prove to be a really powerful sweeper. It's got a couple cool abilities like Shell Armor and Hyper Cutter, so his attack can't be lowered and he can't be crit. Or if you can get hidden ability, Sheer Force is very strong. Be able to boost the power output of your big claw, essentially, at the reduction of using those extra effects, like you know, lowering defense and stuff like that with Liquidation. So I think this thing is going to be super cool, man. I'm really excited to have Kingler on my team, and I needed a Pokemon that can kind of traverse me across the water. I think Kingler can do that, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to ride on top of Kingler. I guess it'll be interesting. I was really torn with this slot, though, I'm going to be honest, because when you have Pokemon like Starmie and you have a Cloyster, 2 really cool water Pokemon, it's kind of hard to decide between the 3 of them. I think Starmie competitively is probably the best of the 3, but I think Kingler's just way too cool, man. And again, that attack stat is through the roof, so I feel like it's going to be destroying some people. Now, the last Pokemon, it was a tough choice, man, but I had to go to my roots as a bug catcher. You know I gotta get Pinsir. Now, it just so happens that 3 of the Pokemon on my team can Mega Evolve, but Beedrill would be the prime candidate for that. Pinsir on its own is pretty strong. Again, rocking that 125 attack stat. It's got a pretty good speed stat at about 80, 85, and it's got good natural bulk, surprisingly. The problem with Pinsir in previous games is it has a really bad move pool, which is kind of the theme for a lot of these Pokemon, but Pinsir, on the other hand, it's going to get a huge buff, getting X-Scissor in the late 20s, getting an assortment of fighting type moves, which is really cool, so it kind of serves as a fighting type in my team, and I think that'll be really sick. So he's got a lot of good moves, he's really powerful, and again, Mega Evolution makes this thing an absolute monster. But again, I think Beedrill will probably be the prime candidate for that. But either way, I gotta get a second bug type on there. I looked at Parasect and I was like, I kind of want to use Victreebel instead. But Pinsir will be really cool, man. Like I said, it's got an incredible attack stat, hits really hard, it's got good natural bulk, and it's got a wide assortment of moves that it can run between rock moves and fighting moves and good power normal moves, and again, those bug type moves which can hit pretty hard with like X-Scissor and stuff. So this is my squad, man. I actually really like it. I think it's pretty cool. I took a little bit of time to brainstorm what 6 I would want on this playthrough, and it may change when the game comes out. There's always the possibility that there's some array of differences here, but I think that I can see myself rocking with this squad of 6, and I think they look pretty magnificent there. I got my little Pikachu, I got my Beedrill, I got my Charizard, of course, we've got Cookie the Kingler, we've got Victreebel, and we've got Pinsir, of course, holding it down in the back. So I'm really excited about this squad, man. I'm really excited about Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I hope you guys are as well. Let me know in the comment section below what 6 Pokemon you want to have on your team in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Hit that like button, subscribe for Pokemon content every single day, and that's going to be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one, and be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.